Who is joining me today? Okay, hi everyone. Hello. Let me see if anybody is here. So, this is the first purpose session that we're having this year. We had a couple of purpose sessions last year. Hi everyone, my name is Olu Olabodi, the purpose midwife. You are welcome. We're doing this on Intentional Women of Purpose Facebook group, and it's also on my YouTube channel, Breath and Thriving Purpose. So you can always watch the replay as well if you're unable to join us live. But I am so excited. Why? Because we're starting the purpose sessions. We did quite a few of this last year, and they were really good. And so in looking at other things that we're doing, to help us to thrive in our purpose, I thought to share from my new book, Woman on Purpose with Purpose for a Purpose. And I think I'm also going to be doing like giveaways in the course of the sessions. So today's is session 1. And really, I'm going to talk about the introduction. So what this is about really, because you might be wondering, what is all of this about? So what this about is every week we're going to be sharing, or I'm going to be sharing from one chapter of the book, because it has 12 chapters. And so today I'm going to talk about the introduction. And then from next week, I'm going to be taking one chapter each. And we're just kind of going to look into that chapter, what it's about, and then I'm going to kind of do a teaching, or, kind of speaking from that chapter. So in case you're wondering what this is about, that is what the purpose sessions are about. Like for the next 12 weeks or so, we're going to be having one session per week based on a chapter of the book. So really, let's talk about what is the book about. So The Woman on Purpose with Purpose for a Purpose. You might wonder, why did I write this book? Are there not enough books to buy? Are there not enough books on purpose? But one thing I believe is that when God puts something in your heart to do, you must do it. And I often say that really it's not really about you as a person. It's more about those that you have been called to reach. It's more about those that you've been called to impact. So when I talk about, talking about the book, Woman on Purpose, with Purpose, for a Purpose, I wrote it because it was a mandate that was sitting in my heart. As I began to teach others about purpose, it was a mandate that was sitting in my heart that I had to give to my world. I know there's something about books. There's just something about books. I was sharing with a couple of ladies a few weeks ago about the story of Miles Monroe, great Miles Monroe, which is how I call him. A couple, before he passed, there was a time that he went on a vacation with his wife to Greece. They went on vacation. He said he didn't. When he went on vacation, they did not go on vacation to like the city. They went to a he said they went to a village so that they could actually have time to themselves, so that he won't have people that knew him, people that really knew about him. That was why he went to that village. But he said something interesting happened. One of the days that they were taking a stroll, he and his wife, they were just walking. He said all of a sudden he heard this woman yell from behind. The woman yelled, "Miles, Miles, is that you, Miles?" And he was like, "Who is this? I don't know you." And the woman said to him, "Wait, wait." As he said, she ran into her house, she ran back to her house, and she ran in and grabbed his books that she had. And she ran back out and said, "Thank you so much for writing these books. Thank you so much for writing these books." And she said he was saying that there was no way he would ever have been able to reach that woman if he had not written those books. So even though he might not have physically met that woman, his books would have been what would have reached out to her. And so he was talking about the importance of pouring yourself out into everything that God has called you to do. If you're joining me, please put your comments there. Let's see who is joining. I can see one joining. So what was he saying? He was saying that God has equipped you and I with so much. And so it is so important for you and I, to bring forth everything that God has put on the inside of us. So for me, I'll tell you a little bit of my story and my background. My name is Olu Olabode, the Purpose Midwife. And I'm a certified John Maxwell speaker, trainer, coach, and I also co-pastor with my husband in beautiful British Columbia in Canada. But that was not where I started from, really. I often tell people, I said, I remember so many years ago, this was in not so many years ago, actually, 2015. So prior to writing this book, this was in 2015. I was at this point in my life, for someone that might not have heard my story before, this was at a time in my life whereby I just felt like I had gone for this conference, I had come back, and I just felt like there had to be more to life than was happening with me. And so I had this yearning in my heart, I had this restlessness to just seek something. I felt like there was more that I needed to let out. And so as I began to seek God and say, God, what is it that is more? I felt like I needed to find out. So I took off time from work. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Adiola, for joining me. Thank you. It's so good to have you here. So I took off time from work, and what did I do? I shared my story, how I would sit with God, asking him, what have you created me to do? And that is where my journey started from. And so it's been a journey, I believe, from 2015 all the way till now. But then what made me write this book? When I look at it, I'm thinking, why did I write Woman on Purpose? It's kind of because God gave me that mandate. My mandate really is to stir up and help women of faith and pastors' wives to unleash themselves from every limitation, anything that seeks to hold them, unleash themselves from it so that they can thrive in purpose and they can impact lives. I often tell people, I said, purpose is the original intent of the thing, which is why a thing was created, why a thing is made. And before we were made, like the word of God says in Jeremiah 1 verse 5, before we showed up right here, God knew what you and I were destined for. He knew what he originally created us to do. He knew what he created us to be. And so when we show up here and we don't know what that thing is, like I didn't know in 2015, what do? We go back to our manufacturer and we go and ask him and say, God, what have you created me to do? What have you brought me? What have you put me upon the earth to do? What is that thing that you have created me to do? And so as you begin to do that, guess what? He begins to reveal to you. And so writing the book Woman on Purpose, with purpose, for a purpose is kind of like, it's the little cap I put there is finding, understanding, and fulfilling your purpose as a woman. Because, God made you and I, this is a women's group, and God made you and I for specifically different, everybody has a role that they're meant to play. Everybody has what he created us to be and to do. And until we go back to him, and so this was a book that was written out of the place of just God just pouring into my heart that this is not just about you. These are about the women that I have called you to impact. And so that is why I have written this book. And so I'm going to read some of the let me read some of the so let me read the table of contents so that you know what the book is about. The first chapter is You Are a Woman of Purpose, ordained to manifest as designed. You are a masterpiece. A woman and her manufacturer. So we're going to be looking at this chapters per week. A woman and her manufacturer, equipped to function, functioning as a woman of purpose. You might wonder, how do I function as a woman of purpose? We're going to talk about that. Every woman has a purpose in God. Some people always say, but what if I don't? Yes, you do. As long as God puts you upon this earth, he puts you here to fulfill a purpose. We're going to talk about the power of choices. You and I have choices that we can make. It is up to you. It is up to me to make those choices. Nobody's going to help you. We're going to talk about Naomi, the purpose pilot. Another chapter says the pains of waiting, the choices of a woman of purpose, and then we have the conclusion. So there's a lot of chapters in this book, and really it's a very, very powerful book. Sometimes I look at it and I'm thinking, oh, did I write it? Yes, I did. So I want to talk a little bit about the introduction. The introduction to this book talks about purpose is a journey. So purpose is a journey kind of shares, my story of which I just shared with you here. Shares a little bit about my story. And so why did I share that in this book? Because when you start off on any journey, there are often so many detours that come up on the journey that you might not even know is going to happen. There are so many obstacles that might come up. But when you know that it is a journey And this journey, I would often say, it is not a sprint. It's like when somebody is running a marathon. So it is a journey. A journey signifies that it is going to be for a period of time. And so when you look at it, that purpose is a journey, you will look at it so that there are things that we go through, even in the course of our journey, that some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be ugly, some of them are going to be very good. But no matter what we encounter on that journey of purpose, they are all going to work together for our good. That is what this book is really about. No matter what you go through, it's saying that you are a woman on purpose, and as you go through your journey, it's just going to say that there are things that you would encounter on this journey that maybe you were not prepared for. You were not prepared for this thing, but God has a way of making everything work out for you eventually. That's what the introduction of this book really talks about. And I also shared about purpose is not a lonely journey. I have found that in this journey of purpose, there are people that God will bring alongside you to help you. There are people that God will bring alongside you to kind of streamline it so that you know that you are walking in the right direction. There are people that God will bring alongside you to help you. You know, I often say that when I started, I didn't really have a blueprint, like, because God will never, He won't tell you, He won't show you the full blueprint. He gives it to you per season. He gives it to you per time. So He will show you little glimpses of it. He will show you little clips of it. He might not show you the full picture. But as you listen, as you follow Him, as you listen and say, God, you have given me a purpose. Maybe, for example, maybe you are called to a certain, what your purpose is maybe, let me use an example. Maybe you are called to stir up young people to live sexually pure. Maybe that's your calling. And often you might not even know how to do that. But I have found that as you start off, or your position is to start the journey. As you start, what I've found is that purpose is a journey, and purpose is not a lonely journey. He would often bring people alongside you to now begin to say, okay, this is what you're called to do. Okay, maybe if you want to do this, one way you can do is to start a non-profit organization. Thank you, Ainori Yomi, for joining. Yes, instruction comes bit by bit. Oh, I know Riam is one of the people that wrote, that wrote one of the reviews for the book. Thank you so much. We are on a need to know basis. Oh, someone says we are on a need to know basis. It just, God would often not, because often I say if He shows us the full picture, we can't often handle the full picture. That's the truth. If God had showed, and I often use Abraham as a good example. I'm a person of faith, so I would often refer to people of faith. So He would often use, with Abraham, he wanted to show him that if He had showed Abraham that you're not going to have a child for 25 years, and then after 25 years, you're going to have the child, then I'm going to tell you to take the child to the mountain, and now you're going to sacrifice the child. Abraham would have said, God, I'm not doing this. I can't do this. I can't handle this. But he knew that he had to show him per season. Okay, Abraham, leave your father's house. He left. As he left, Abraham, you're going to have this many children. Look into the sky. And every time Abraham doubted, all he had to do was just step outside and look into the sky. And as he looked into the sky, guess what? He found out that truly, he was like, wow, God is showing me that I am going to be a father of nations. So what was he doing? He was being, his heart was being, he was receiving strength in the place of faith. He was receiving strength for all the things that God had for him. And the same thing goes for you and I. Often when we start on a journey of purpose, He would not show us the bottlenecks we're going to go through. He will never show you the obstacles. He will never show you that people might not even believe what you are saying. People might not even come alongside your journey. He won't show you all of that, because if He shows you, you're going to get discouraged and you would not even go on that journey. But per time, He will reveal it. And as He reveals it, guess what? He will reveal what you are able to handle per time. As He reveals it, He's increasing our capacity. So it is step by step. But the best thing I love about the journey of purpose is that He would often bring people that would encourage you on that journey. He will bring people that would inspire you on that journey. He will bring people that would, that would hold your hand on that journey. That's one of the things that I do as a purpose midwife. I hold people's hands on their journey and say, you know what, there are some things that you want to do. I might have done some of those things. And even the ones that I might not have done, you know what, if I hold your hand, we can actually do this together. We can walk. And that's what God does. I remember that for me, at the time when I was on this purpose journey, there were two people that God brought into my life that really helped me to accelerate. One of them was in the UK. It was in the form of, this book was actually birthed out of a webinar that I had attended that this lady organized. It was in May last year. And on this webinar, I had attended this webinar, and she was talking about how God is calling us to fulfill purpose and all of that. And as I finished this, I remember my time, because it was 12 noon UK time. So for me, it was 4 a.m. in the morning. And really, why do I want to attend a webinar at 4 a.m. in the morning? But I just really felt that weekend I needed to attend that webinar. It was a Saturday morning. So I attended that webinar. And guess what? After that webinar, I sat at the table. And as I sat there, I began to say, God, speak to me, speak to my heart. What are you saying to me? Do you know, as I sat at that table, just listening, just saying, okay, God, is me and you here. Everybody else was still sleeping because it was 4 a.m. in the morning. The webinar was 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. my time. And so at 5 a.m., everyone was still sleeping on a Saturday morning. But as I sat there on the table, guess what? God began to unravel to me what he had, he began to unravel to me different things he wanted me to do. And starting this intentional starting this Facebook group was one of the things that he outlined to me. As I sat there, he gave me 7 things he wanted me to bring out, 7 products. This book was one of them. This Facebook group was one of the things I was meant to do. And there was so much more. It was like, wow. So what am I saying? There are so many things that God shows us that we might not even understand. But when he brings people our way to help us, they inspire us, they motivate us. So as I sat there that day, it was like, wow, God was just opening my eyes. And so the journey is never lonely. Let me read some of the comments. Yes, when I look back, I see how hard the journey was. And if I had known from the start, I might have gotten, you would have gotten overwhelmed. That's the truth. And not wanted to move forward. You would definitely have not wanted to move forward. But God showed me each step as I got there. And that's the beautiful thing that I love the most. He would lead us step by step. And guess what? As you are getting there, and here we are today, as you're getting there, guess what? He is now increasing your capacity as you move forward, one step at a time. I know Oriomi says that the funny thing is that if you don't obey the first instruction, oh, that is so true. You can't get the next instruction for the next phase of life. Mike Murdoch often emphasizes this. He said, if you don't obey the first instruction, God will never give you the second instruction. Thank you for sharing that. Often we think, oh, I can just keep moving. I find it's true. If you do not obey the first instruction, he's waiting on you. He's like, do you think I'm going to talk to you again? It's not going to happen. It is so true. Thank you so much for sharing that. And somebody else says, ha ha ha, yes, amen. I know. He's patient with us and waits until we follow the first instruction before he shows us the next. So maybe there's somebody watching today and they're saying, oh, but God, I wanted to do this. This is the thing you put in my heart. But you have not done the first instruction. Let me give you another example. A couple of years ago, in the course of this purpose fulfillment, God told me to start a non-profit organization. I did not know how to start it. I didn't know what to do. I had no blueprints. Guess what? The first instruction I had was just go and incorporate it. You don't need to know what to do. And so I incorporated it. I got a name. He gave me a name for it. And I said, okay. He said, this non-profit is going to be for teenagers, young adults, and women. I'm like, I don't have a resource. Guess what? One day I was at work and God said to me, he downloaded to me a resource, a mini book for those teenagers, for those women that were going to read it. And he said to me, this is not even going to be sold. This is going to be, you're going to partner with other people that are going to give it to teenagers and young adults and women. As many people as want to partner with you, partner with them and give it to them. I had no clue how it was going to start. But as I began to obey the first instruction, like I know says here exactly, God began to give me next instruction. So we would never have. So if you are waiting to have the full instructions, trust me, you are never going to have the full instructions. And so this is to encourage somebody out there. And maybe you are just starting your purpose journey. Why don't you just trust God to lead you one step at a time? And as he leads you, just obey that one step at a time. As he leads you, just say, God, so what is it? Don't even ask for the next step. Just say, yes, Lord. When I was in the journey of, I've shared my story of how I started with purpose. When I said to God, what have you created me to do? He would not answer me for like a year. He led me in a journey of intimacy with him. He wanted me to get to know him first. He wanted me to just sit there with him in the place of intimacy. And then he began to reveal to me what he had created me to do. So sometimes God has, he knows each of us. He knows what he wants us to do. But he also knows that sometimes he needs us to spend time with him. So no matter what route God takes you through, just learn to listen and follow each instruction as you do. Guess what? you're going to be astounded by what he is going to do for you. So that is the introduction to this book, Woman on Purpose, with Purpose for a Purpose. Next week, this was just the introduction. Next week, we're going to be looking at chapter 1, which says, okay, let me tell you what chapter 1, that's what I'm going to do next week. Next week is You Are a Woman of Purpose. And we're just going to delve into that a little bit. Who is a woman of purpose? We're going to delve into that a little bit. And so I want to say thank you so much for everyone that has joined me this evening, this morning. And I also want to get feedback. Is this time okay for most of us? Or do we move it to 6 p.m. West African time? Do we move it to 8 p.m. West African time? Just let me know feedback as well. That would be awesome. But thank you everyone that has joined me. I'm looking forward to being here again next week. Have an awesome, awesome, awesome evening, awesome morning. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining me.